I don't know.
No, it's crazy.
I have these are what goes on in this little brain of mine. So yeah.
Let's dive into this because we're burning through time, and I know we're gonna spend some time on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm so fascinated by it.
Yes.
Honestly, I didn't know much about your company until Chris Camozzi introduced us. And shout out to Chris. He was helping you find a building or something. He's big time
Chris.
real estate agent.
Yeah. Crazy.
Also a bare knuckle boxing world champion.
What a savage dude.
He shoots a bow.
Yeah. We're going to be hunting with him too. We'll get him out here. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, the moment that I heard it was a mechanical broadhead, I was just like,
I had a check mark. I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Because I'm an old school fixed blade guy.
Yeah. Why?
Because of failure.
Yeah. See, that's why.
So this is why I'm so intrigued by this, and I'm excited to hunt with it this year because typically, if you haven't shot a bow before, and this isn't really an archery podcast, but we're going to do a deep dive on archery nerdery here for a minute. If you shoot a fixed blade broadhead, and I think where I want to start with you with this before we actually dive into the broadhead and talking to you and hearing all your hunting stories over the last couple weeks that you and I have just naturally talked about, it's really hard to be effective at long range. And the reason why is you were basically adding wings to your fucking arrow that has a lot more vulnerability to elements, whether it's water or wind or drag or penetration. There's just, you're not as effective from a longer range than you are with something that's mechanical is much more. And the reason why is because, and we'll let you get into the science of it, but not only is it the arrow flight, but once that arrow reaches the animal, it's losing kinetic energy because there's more drag. So really you cannot take a super long shot with a fixed blade broadhead. What would you say would be the max? 80 yards?
I mean, this is subject to debate.
Yeah. It depends on if you're shooting a 90-pound bow from 1980.
If you want to talk ethically speaking, so 60 yards, I would say, is the max.
Yeah.
And obviously fixed blade broadhead manufacturers are going to say, well, bullshit, you can do this. We've done it.
Of course they are.
Yeah, which I understand that.
Yeah.
But
just like Coca-Cola makes the best soda, right?
If you're a broadhead manufacturer, you're pretty smart. You're going to know shit about how to set up a bow and do all that stuff properly. But the average guy out there is just, he's not going to know all that information. That information came from trial and error with you shooting that and getting a bow set up perfectly and tuned and the right arrow set up and all that kind of stuff to get that kind of distance out of a fixed blade broadhead. And the biggest variable, in my opinion, with a fixed blade broadhead is you're putting little mini fletchings on the front of your arrow. And so it's flight path, and
it's not even on the back of it too for stability. The fletchings are there for stability in flight.
Yeah.
But the moment, it's like building a paper airplane. You can fold the wings different ways. It starts to dive off.
Yeah. So if you did a deep dive in this, and people have done this, there's stuff out there you can look at. You can take a fixed blade broadhead, you can put it in a wind tunnel, and they use smoke, and you can run it off the tip of your arrow, and it's precise, and you can see the arrow patterns with its aerodynamics, and so this is why you have to tune a fixed blade. So you have to rotate it with. So basically, the front of your arrow broadhead, your broadhead is wind planing, and then your fletchings are correcting that, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's fighting airfoils and trajectory, all those flows around it aerodynamically. And so that's why guys will use hot melt in your insert or whatever, and you heat it up, you twist it half a turn.
Yeah, to match the
quarter turn or off fletching. And what you're doing in that space when you're tuning your fixed blade broadhead is you're offsetting the aerodynamics and the air flow around the shaft so that the fletchings of that arrow can actually be the thing that steers the broadhead. And then once you get it to a dialed space, and then you have spine of air, dude, it gets really crazy.
Oh, dude, to the point, I'm such a fanatic about shooting fixed blades until this year because of this, right?
Right.
That's why I have a 50 grain insert.
Yeah.
Is to have a little bit more weight up front, so it's less forgiving, and that's also why I shoot 100 grain fixed blade broadhead.
Right.
That's also got some aerodynamic stuff to it, like it's it's got some holes cut in it and stuff in the blade, so it's less
to interrupt
drag.
interrupt the. It's really to interrupt the airflow in regards to fletching, because this fletching is what controls your arrow. Like ultimately, it is the dominant factor of aerodynamics is your fletchings on your arrow, like not your broadhead. And your broadhead is interrupting what your fletchings are supposed to do, and so you have to balance that out. And that's why. And you kind of said it when you started, is like, so yeah, there's drag and all those other kind of factors that factor into it, and for whatever reason, again, deep dive into it, but like the longer the distance and as the velocity, the velocity of the arrow slows down, the longer it goes. And so then those effects of airfoil and flow around the shaft and controlling change because velocity is changing.
Right.
So then the arrow consistency changes too. So then like I tune an arrow, like you tune a fixed bed broadhead, like 50 yards and under. It's like boom, dialed in. All between 0 and 50 yards, I can put my pin on it and shoot. It's going to hit, right? It's not going to hit where my field points are. Most likely it doesn't.
No, it always changes.
It's always different, but it's going to hit in the same spot. Then you go about 50 and all of a sudden it's not hitting in the same spot. And you're like, what the fuck? And then 60, 70, 80, and then it's even different. The velocity is changing enough to where now it's measurable on your arrow, right? Between 50 and arguably, and there's going to be engineers and people that argue, we're not shooting supersonic bullets, right? We're shooting subsonic arrows, okay? Human error between 50 and 0 and 50 outweighs the dynamics of the physics of it, right? Yes.
And it's so crazy with archery what you're aiming through. You're looking through a peep that's the size of a fucking pea at the largest, right? Some guys shoot smaller if they can see well enough.
Yeah.
Then you have to line that up with your sight picture ring.
Yep.
Then there's a fucking level bubble
for your first, second, third axis to make sure your contour of your ground, and then there's down angle, up angle. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many crazy it's gotten very scientific, and there's guys that still go out there like Donnie Dust that throw primitive rocks, but a lot of that is instinctual, and I believe that there's some of that goes on with your mind.
Oh, 100%.
But there's also science in this. Like he knows if he makes this too heavy or this too much of a cut radius or this too serrated, it's going to have less penetration. I've seen the science of it in these bison experiments. There's real science behind that too. Like it's the same concept that primitive man was using. It's just turned into this, right?
I mean, from this is so cool because this actually dawned on me like probably very, very recently, is that this is Stone Age, and
Donnie Dust,
Jansen have been a part
from SABO Broadheads right here.
This is history, and it's such I'm really humbled, in a lot, hugely, because this kind of dawned on me. I mean, this has been around for as long as human history has been in play.
Yeah.
And I created a broadhead that revolutionized what this is from the Stone Age.